Hello and welcome to Ask a Mechanic. Today we're continuing our videos on modifications, and another one is wheel spacers. Now, wheel spacers are designed, as exactly as they sound, to fit between the hub and the wheel to make the wheels sit further outside of the hub. Now, that can have its advantages in that it can actually change the track of the vehicle so it's wider, which means that the handling will be different. However, the handling isn't always better, because changing the width of the track will also change the characteristics of how the vehicle handles. You will need to get the geometry set back up when you've done this, which means you'll need to get it on a machine to do the tracking and make sure that the toe, the camber and the caster are not miles out. It's also likely to affect something called the scrub radius, which means that when you go over a bump, the vehicle will handle differently. It might become skittish or unpredictable. So just don't go too wide on the wheel spacers. The other thing to bear in mind is that the further out of the vehicle the wheels are, the more pressure you are putting on the wheel bearing, because the wheel bearing is only designed to operate within a certain tolerance. Now, that's not to say that you can't do it, but just be prepared to replace wheel bearings more frequently. Now, there are different types of wheel spacers that you can get. There are cheap ones, which look like this. And to be quite frank, they're not worth the metal they're made out of. They are rubbish, because you cannot determine that they are going to stay in the same place, and you cannot determine that they are going to stay tight under pressure. What you need is something called a hub-centric wheel spacer, and that performs two functions. The first one is that it sits perfectly over your wheel studs or where your wheel bolts fit in the hub, and that means it's not going to move. Secondly, it means that it sits on the actual hub of the vehicle and the wheel sits on the spigot on the actual wheel spacer, and that means that the wheel cannot jog about up and down and loosen the wheel bolts. You will also potentially get an issue called ovaling, which is where the holes in the wheels actually become oval because they're not sat correctly on the hub. So my advice is spend a bit more money, get the proper kit, and you won't have a problem. Bye for now.